So as if the t-shirt wasn't enough of a giveaway, you guys probably already knew that I'm a bit of a McLaren fan. I've followed the team ever since I've been following Formula 1, and this was the first year, in fact, where McLaren actually won the Constructors' Championship since 1998, and 1998 was actually a pretty special year for McLaren in a number of ways. Not only winning, of course, the Drivers' in the Constructors' Championship with Hakkinen during those days, but in 1998, the McLaren Driver Development Program was also founded as well. This is essentially the youth academy of McLaren, helping to nurture young talent and bring them through eventually, hopefully, to actually race for McLaren themselves. And there's been some really incredible names that have been a part of this driver development program over the decades. Now, while development programs are all the rage in Formula 1 these days, Red Bull have very much ignited that since they have been in Formula 1, and I think every single Formula 1 team now has a driver development program. And if you even look at Formula 2, you'll notice that probably easily over half the grid are associated with either a development program for a Formula 1 team, or they are some kind of reserve and test driver for a Formula 1 team. And that got me thinking, really, when it came to Gabriel Bortoleto. Now, Bortoleto is the person that kind of sparked this interest in me to make this video, and a video that I don't believe anyone's really made before on YouTube. Certainly I couldn't find one that was of this ilk, just going over all of the McLaren development driver program drivers over the last few decades, and saying, you know, how their careers went, whether they made their debut in Formula 1 for McLaren or another team perhaps, and kind of just go through it, because there are some really surprise names here, some people that I had no idea were a part of this program at different times, but a lot of them making their way to Formula 1 and other racing series as well. So here we go, guys. I'm going to go through every single McLaren development driver over the last few decades and just go over their careers, really just summarize it all for you guys. So, but before we do that, before we go into the drivers from the past, let's have a look at the drivers of the future, or more accurately, the drivers of the present. The McLaren development program has a number of different drivers in different series currently. Now, one of them you may have noticed in the young driver test recently at Abu Dhabi, and that is Ryo Harikawa, who of course is in the World Endurance Championship. They've got Pato O'Ward, who is in the IndyCar Championship over in the United States. In Formula 2 next season, there'll be Alex Dunn and also Martinius Stenshorn in that series as well. Frecker, the Formula Regional European Championship, I believe it stands for. It's effectively a Formula 4 championship below F3. There's Ugo Ugochukwu and also Brando Badoer, and yes, he is the son of Luca Badoer, who used to race in F1 back in the day. F1 Academy, the female support series for Formula 1, they have Bianca Bustamante and also Ella Lloyd will be there in a full-time drive in 2025. And in karting, not making their single-seater debut yet, it's Dries van Landendonk. But yeah, those are the drivers that are currently in the McLaren Youth Academy, let's just call it for ease's sake. So let's dive into the people that have made their debuts, or at least been a part of the McLaren development program in the past. And like I said, there's some really surprise names in here. Now, the first driver I'm going to highlight is none other than Wesley Graves. Now, in 1998, there was a raft of young drivers that came into the academy for McLaren, and Wesley Graves was actually pictured alongside Lewis Hamilton, the very famous photograph that I'm going to show on the screen now. But yeah, he was one of the first inductees into this Hall of Fame, and he never made it to single seaters. He was in karting in 1998, and he was let go of later in 1998 as well. And it's very much a sad story when it comes to motorsport. It's the sad reality of things. Like, you get some incredible drivers such as Sir Lewis Hamilton, but you also get some drivers that never quite make it, even if they are touted for great things. So what happened to Graves? Well, Graves basically just went back to school after that. Since he left school, when he graduated from school, he's apparently not really held down a job since then. Sometimes he's been working in with his father, who was a landscape gardener, but he himself had not got a job really, because he was still wanting to be a racing driver. He was still wanting to get back to that life, and that's kind of the last that we heard of him really. It's not really clear what he's doing these days. He's just kind of, like I said, he's left racing and he's not really come back. Someone who, you know, in his own words, words, could have been a star, but as it turns out, never really got past karting. And yeah, that's the sad reality of what it's like for most drivers out there, most racing drivers out there. Very few of them actually make it to Formula 1, let alone also making it to a competitive European single-seater series. Another driver that joined in 1998 was Nicolas Minassian. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, and I do apologize for that. But when he joined in 98, he was in the International 3000 karting. He was in the International Formula 3000 Championship in 1998. He also left the academy later in 98, which is a bit of a theme of these first few drivers. Only one of them stayed for a decent amount of time. You can probably guess who. But after that, he actually had a pretty good racing career, to be fair to the guy, eventually making it all the way to the 24 hours of Le Mans. He finished second in 2008, and he also finished in third place in 2011 as well, driving for Peugeot in both of those. And from what I can tell, he actually retired from racing in 2016. So he had a very successful career, in fairness to him. Yeah, when it came to single seaters, the closest he really got was competing in the odd IndyCar race in the early 2000s, and also in International Formula 3000 in the early 2000s. But aside from that, never really looked like he was going to make it to F1, but found a lot of success when it came to endurance racing. Another inductee in 1998 was Norman Seaman, someone who only was a part of the academy in 1998. At the time, he was actually competing in German Formula 3, and another guy who actually went on to quite a bit of success in sports car racing, competing all the way until 2005 eventually. He actually did compete at Le Mans as well, according to my records on here, but he's not someone who was particularly not on the same level as Jan just before, who I mentioned there. But yeah, someone, again, another one who joined in 98 and left in 98. Someone else who joined in 98 and left in 98, but for different reasons, was Ricardo Zonta. Yeah, Ricardo Zonta was in the McLaren development program as well. He was competing in the FIA GT Championship in 1998, and the following year he left the McLaren Driver Academy to get his Formula 1 debut for BAR. He raced for BAR in 99 and 2000, where probably the most famous thing that he did during that time, of course, was get between Michael Schumacher and Mika Hakkinen at Spa in 2000, which was a very much I imagine that is a life-changing experience being between them two like that. It's one of the best overtakes in the history of Formula 1 was that, in my opinion, for sure. He then moved on to Jordan for 2001, but only made 2 race starts that season. He did make a comeback into Formula 1 late in 2004 when he was parachuted, and he was the test driver for Toyota during that time, but he was parachuted in the latter part of the season, and he just kind of hung around Formula 1 in 2005. His best finish was a few 6th place finishes back in the year 2000, back when, of course, only the top 6 scored points. But yeah, Zonta was very much not the best driver in F1, in fairness. But yeah, he made it to F1, unlike the people we just spoke about before this, so fair play to him in that regard. Since Formula 1, he's been competing in the likes of Brazilian stock cars, where he actually still competes to this day in 2024 at the age of 48, with the likes of course, Rubens Barrichello, who I think is even older than him. So yeah, fair play Zonta. He's still racing over in Brazil, so good on you with that one. Now, one of the biggest surprises for me as being part of the McLaren Driver Academy is without a doubt Nick Heidfeld. Yes, quick Nick was an initial inductee in 1998, and he stayed for a couple years, being in the series in 1999 as well. Sorry, in International Formula 3000, I should say, in 1999. He got his debut in Formula 1 in 2000 for the Prost team. The less said about that Prost team, the better. He left the Driver Academy, of course, to join Prost, something that's a running theme, kind of. I mean, it's fair enough. You can't make your debut for McLaren, you go off somewhere else. That is not dissimilar to what Gabriel Bortoleto has done most recently as well. He later competed for the likes of Sauber, Jordan, Williams, BMW and Renault in a career spanning 12 seasons. He left Formula 1 after 2011, and he's actually regarded as well as one of the best drivers to never win a race. He got 13 podiums during his time in Formula 1. He also, of course, then went later on to compete in Formula E between 2005 2014 and 2018. 8 podiums during that time. His best finish overall in the series was 7th place overall as well. And in between all that too, he's been competing in the likes of the 24-hour Le Mans as well. He got his best overall finish in 4th place in 2014, which was also a class win, I believe, for LMP2 as it were. So yeah, a Quick Nick, very much a great Formula 1 driver for sure, someone who is criminally underrated in my opinion. But yeah, as good as Quick Nick was, he wasn't as good as Sir Lewis Hamilton, the final of the 1998 drivers in this list. He joined the academy in 1998 as a 13-year-old, and he stayed in the academy until 2006, when of course after that he made his debut in Formula 1. You guys already know Hamilton, the most statistically successful driver in the history of Formula 1. 7 world championships, over 100 victories, over 200 podiums to his name, over 100 pole positions, 67 fastest laps. I mean, you know, you can't get a better graduate from your driver academy than Sir Lewis. He had a lot of success at McLaren, winning his first championship in 2008, with the team still to this day the last and most recent McLaren drivers champion. He stayed at McLaren until 2012, where he moved to Mercedes in 2013, winning over 6 titles and rewriting the record books during his 12 seasons there. And of course, next season he will join Ferrari to embark on a new challenge. But yeah, during his junior career with McLaren, they of course helped finance his career. He competed in British Formula Renault Championship in 2002 and 2003, Formula 3 Euro Series in 04 and 05, and then in GP2 Series in 06, where he won the series and of course got promoted to Formula 1 for the following year. Now we move on to guys who obviously started in the driver academy after 98, and there was one inductee in 1999, and that was the Brazilian driver Mario Haberfeld, someone who I'd never really heard of before. He only stayed in the academy for that 1 year in 99 when he was competing in the Formula 3000 Championship. Although I say competing in the Formula 3000 Championship, he never even finished a single race, I don't believe, during that time, or at least didn't get any points and therefore was not classified. He was dropped by the academy for 2000. He stayed in Formula 3000 until 2002, achieving his best finish overall of 7th place in 02. He then went to Champ Car, which is obviously now IndyCar. He competed in there for 03 and 04. Then went to race off in sports cars in 2006. Then competed in Le Mans in 2007 and 2008. So he tested for some other teams early on in his career as well, such as the Stewart Grand Prix team as well. But yeah, someone who never really shone in Formula 3000 and therefore never really got a chance in Formula 1 as a result. He did actually make a return to racing in 2019 as part of the Jaguar I-Pace E Trophy, which is like a support series for the Formula E Championship during that time, and is not raced ever since then. So yeah, someone again who, you know, was just very much in the academy for a short time and was dropped very shortly after. The academy then didn't actually bring anybody in until 2003, when Chinese driver Cheng Kung Fu, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, I'm probably not, so I do apologize for that. He was a part of the McLaren Development Academy for 4 years, actually, the longest kind of stay there aside from Sir Lewis Hamilton since it actually started. He joined in 2003 when he was competing in the Formula Renault 2.0 Championship, where he actually stayed throughout his tenure at McLaren. He finished 2nd in the Winter Series in 2005, and he finished 3rd in the Summer Series in 2006 as well. That was not enough for him to stay though, and after that he actually competed in the likes of A1 Grand Prix, which is the national teams of racing. Such a weird series, go check that out. Maybe I'll do a video about that at some point, but yeah, that was a wild time in racing, was that. He also competed in other series such as British Formula 3, after that the Formula 3 Euro Series. He competed in the Macau Grand Prix as well in 2008, 24 Hours of Nürburgring, where he finished 3rd in 2009. The DTM, the German touring cars, the World Endurance Championship, the Blomqvist Endurance Series. This guy's been an absolute journeyman, and he's still competing at the age of 40 in 2024 in the GT World Challenge Asia Series. He's competed in 12 races so far, actually managing to win one as well. So fair play to you. Cheng. I mean, he's still going. I mean, 40 is not old by any means, but yeah, someone who unfortunately was, again, never really that close to Formula One. Maybe a bit of money, bit of, you know, partnerships coming in there. Actually, his nickname is Frankie, so I'm going to call him Frankie. Best of luck to you, Frankie, in the rest of your season as you compete over in Asia there. And then we went on a bit of a break. We didn't have anybody join the McLaren development kind of program until Guido van der Garde did so in 2006. Yeah, Guido van der Garde actually was part of the McLaren youth setup, which I never ever thought. I had no idea that was a thing. He sort of did make it to Formula One though, but I'll just go through his career very briefly. He joined in 06 when he was in the Formula 3 Euro Series during that time, and unfortunately he was dropped at the end of that season by McLaren, but he kept going. He did prove they didn't need that to compete further up. He went to the Formula Renault 3.5 Series in 2007, and he won it the following year in 2008. In 2009, he went over to GP2, where he competed in there for 4 seasons. The highest place finish he actually had in 2011, his penultimate season, with 5th overall. And then in 2013, he made his debut in Formula One for Caterham. Unfortunately, Caterham were a bit of financial turmoil at the time, so he was not renewed for 2014. He did, though, have a valid contract with Sauber Formula One for 2015, but unfortunately, no one told him that they already had 2 other drivers, Marcus Ericsson and Felipe Nasr. Guido van der Garde successfully sued Sauber for this as well. It was a breach of contract, and yeah, incredible stuff, really. He's not been in Formula One since then, but he has since competed in other series, such as the 24 Hours of Le Mans, getting a class finish of 2nd in LMP2 Pro-Am in 2021. He's also competed in IMSA as well since then, and I believe he's a bit of a personality on Dutch television for Formula One coverage as well. So yeah, even though he's left Formula One, he has, of course, continued on. Oh, actually, no, he did win the Le Mans series in LMP2 in 2016 as well. I missed that. So yeah, he's had some championship wins in there as well. So yeah, still competing now in 2024, presumably. He's not competed anything yet, but I'll probably be back at some point and in the future, no doubt. 39 years of age as well, so he's not exactly the oldest either. So yeah, best of luck to you as well, Guido. Then there is another name that I very much remember from Formula E, a local lad relatively. I saw that his birthplace was listed at Sheffield in the past, but now it's listed as Barnsley. But anyway, South Yorkshire lad just like me. Oliver Rowland was a part of the McLaren development program between 2007 and 2010, back when he was in karting. He was dropped for 2010, but after that very much carved out a successful kind of racing career since then. Made his single-seater debut in 2011. Also competed in the likes of the Formula Renault 2.0 and the 3.5 series. Made his GP2 debut in 2015. Stayed in GP2 until 2000. Well, actually, no, it continued, sorry, because they got rebranded as Formula 2 in 2017. That, though, was his final series in the junior series. Finished 3rd overall in the F2 campaign in 2017. He was a development driver for the likes of Williams, Renault. He was kind of getting on the edge of being into Formula One, but never really looked credible as someone who would manage to get in there properly. He might well have won the Formula E championship in 2024, but he was ill for a couple of rounds and couldn't travel to Portland. I remember that. He was in with a shot of it, an outside shot, but still a shot of it. And he's been in Formula E between 2018 and the present day, driving for the likes of Nissan and Mahindra during that time. So yeah, someone again who could very much have success outside of Formula One, but never made it to the big time in F1 in the end. And again, another surprise name, a current Formula One driver, Alex Albon. He was part of the McLaren development program in 2010. That was the only year that he was a part of that. But yeah, incredible stuff. I never ever guessed that he was a part of that. But it makes sense, being a young British-born racing driver, that he would have had some sort of link to a British Formula One team. Of course, I know he's Thai. He competes under Thai license, but he was born in London and went as pretty much most of his life over here. So for me, he's pretty much a British driver. He could call himself a British driver anyway. But yeah, eventually made his way to single-seaters in 2012, competing in a few different Renault series. He made it to Formula 3 Euro 2015, competed in the Macau Grand Prix as well in that season. Made his GP3 debut in 2016. Made his way to F2 in 2017. He was runner-up in that GP3 series as well. He finished 3rd place in 2018 in F2, which is no mean feat because Lando Norris and George Russell were both in that championship. They finished in the top 2. Albon was in 3rd overall in just his 2nd series there. He made his debut in Formula 1 for Toro Rosso, which is now known as the Racing Bulls these days, in 2019. He had only half a season there before being promoted to the Red Bull senior team, was then sacked from the Red Bull senior team in 2010, became their testing driver again in 2021. Then he got the drive full-time for Williams in 2022, where he's been ever since, and he will continue to compete for Williams, and he's done so absolutely fantastically. He's been brilliant in my opinion for Williams. We've got a big challenge on the cards next season. Carlos Sainz and him going up against each other in the Williams. Who will come out on top? My bet would probably be Sainz, but Alex Albon, as the incumbent, has a bit of an advantage there, so we'll see what happens with the Thai driver next season. Another surprise name in here for me is none other than Jack Harvey, who had his only season in the McLaren development program in 2010 as well. At that time, he was competing in Formula BMW Europe, but later went on to compete in the likes of British Formula 3 in 2011 and then the GP3 series in 2013. Now, if you know Jack Harvey, you probably know him from IndyCar, which he made his Indy Lights debut, which is, I believe, the 2nd tier below IndyCar, what's now known as the Indy Next series. That is Indy Lights back in the day. He was in that for 2 seasons in 2015 and 2014, and then he eventually made his IndyCar series debut in 2017, where he's still competing to this day. He has driven for mainly Meyer Shank Racing during this time, but he's also competed for the likes of Ray Hall Letterman Racing and Dale Coyne Racing as well. He's managed 1 top 3 finish back in 2019, and he's someone who's probably going to stick around in IndyCar for some time yet. He has signed on with Dreyer and Rainbolt Racing in 2025, so I wish him all the best of luck as he competes under Chevrolet power for the first time in his career, so there we go. Someone who I have never heard of, though, is Petri Suvanto, someone who I never heard of this guy before. He's a Finnish racing driver. He's still only 32 years of age, and he had his only season as a McLaren development driver in 2010 as well. McLaren making a real habit of getting drivers and then getting rid of them within 12 months. After 2010, he went over to the United States to compete in the US 2000 National Championship, which he absolutely dominated, winning 5 races out of the 12 that season. In 2012, he went to race in the Star Mazda Championship, where he finished 5th place overall. In 2013, this was his last season, as far as I can tell, in competitive actual racing, as he ran out of money partway through that. A bit of a sad tale, to be honest, just ran out of money. And I guess he's just working something else, just a regular average Joe at the end of the day. An average Petri, I should say, over in Finland. I'm guessing he just went back there, to be honest. He's still only 32 years of age now, so yeah, a bit of a sad one, but that's the thing, you know, you need money to be able to race. It's why a lot of these development programs are so crucial to Formula One, the future of Formula One, I should say. Oliver Turvey is another familiar name you may know. He joined the McLaren development program in 2010 and stayed for 2 years, well, just over a year, I should say. His final season there in 2011. During this time, he was in the GP2 series, and he also did quite a bit of testing for McLaren during this time as well, becoming their full-time test driver actually in 2012, so he was close to getting a seat, but there was no real chance that he was going to get that in 2013, even when Sir Lewis Hamilton left. And he continued to be the test driver for McLaren for a very long time, which is an absolute shocker for me. I had no idea that he'd been a test driver for all that time. In fact, he's still listed as a test driver for McLaren to this day in 2024, which is incredible. I mean, as you watch this, it'll be 2025. Happy New Year, by the way. But yeah, in the meantime, he's been competing in the likes of Formula E, competing most recently in that in 2022. But again, he's a test and reserve driver for DS Penske to this day, so he's still in and around racing, heading into his late 30s. So fair play to the guy, you know. He's made a real success for himself, and he actually won the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 2014 in the LMP2 category. So not bad at all. So a very capable pair of hands, someone who's had a very successful racing career, albeit a bit of a reserve for a lot of people, but hey, someone's got to do it at the end of the day. The second driver to make their Formula 1 racing debut for McLaren after being in the youth setup is Kevin Magnussen. Obviously, Sir Lewis Hamilton managed it in 2007, but K-Mag managed that in 2014. People forget about how highly rated Kevin Magnussen was before he joined Formula 1. Of course, being the son of Jan Magnussen, someone who drove for McLaren back in the 1990s and has been a very successful sports car and World Endurance Championship driver over the years as well. But yeah, K-Mag was super highly rated. He joined the McLaren Youth Young Driver Search in 2010 and left it in 2013, just before getting his debut for McLaren in 2014. When he joined in 2010, he was a part of the German Formula 3 Championship, and he later went on to compete in the British F3 Championship in 2011. He then was in the Formula Renault 3.5 Series in 2012 and 2013, winning it in 2013 to replace a certain Sergio Perez, who was a bit of a flop at McLaren. Who would have seen that coming? But yeah, he competed for McLaren in 2014. In 2015, he was relegated to be the test and reserve driver as Fernando Alonso came back. He'd have a one-off appearance, if you want to call it that, at Australia, but he didn't start because the Honda engine was absolute garbage. Less said about that, the better. He then jumped ship to go to Renault for 2016 and then went over to Haas for 2017. He competed in 2 stints for Haas between 2017 and 2020, and also 22 and 24. He's now going to compete with BMW over in sports cars. But yeah, someone who, you know, he got a podium on his debut at K-Mag, he got a pole position for Haas. You can't take these things away from him at the end of the day, but yeah, not a bad driver in F1 by any stretch, and I'm sad to see him go. I will really miss him personally, and personally I also think that replacing Magnussen with Ocon is a bit of a downgrade, but that's just my opinion. I know that is a controversial one. Next up, we've got Ben Barnicoat. He was part of the McLaren youth setup between 2010 and 2015, so a long-serving one, 6 seasons in there. When he joined in 2010, he was a part of the Super 1 series during that time. He went on to compete in some other karting series, and I think his actual single-seat debut was in the, is that the Euro series in 2012? Something like that anyway. Very much a highly rated karter. He continued to actually kart as well all the way until 2019, even after he was dropped by McLaren, never quite making it anywhere close to being in Formula 1, but he's driven in the likes of IMSA, in the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the GT Championship, Endurance Series. He's been over in the Gulf as well, over in the Middle East competing. He's just made himself very much a journeyman career in racing, and to this day he's still not particularly old at all. He's only 28 years of age, so I mean, he was signed when he was 14 years old, so fair play to the guy. He's not done badly at all really there. Someone else who I have seen test for McLaren in the past, but I didn't realize he was part of the academy there, it's Nick de Vries. Yes, believe it or not, Nick de Vries, 29 years of age still to this day, but I feel like his Formula 1 days are well and truly behind him, but he still made it to F1, so fair play to the guy in that regard. He was a youth prospect at McLaren all the way from 2010 to 2018. He made his debut in 2012 as he started actually in karting in 2010 when he was driving for the youth setup in McLaren. Eventually he made his way to GP3 in 2016, and then he went over to the F2 Championship in 2018. Nick de Vries is actually one of the very few, if actually probably the only Formula 1 driver to actually go to Formula E and then come to F1 after that, rather than the other way around. Normally it's the other way around, where drivers will go to Formula E after Formula 1 after they fall out of favour. This guy though won the Formula E Championship and then went over to F1. He made a cameo appearance in 2022 for Williams, scoring points on his debut at Monza, obviously substituting him for Alex Albon, who was otherwise preoccupied, i.e. getting his appendix removed at the time. And then he was in the AlphaTauri team in 2023, but only lasted half a season before being dropped and replaced with Ricciardo, who was then replaced by Lawson, who then Ricciardo replaced and then Lawson replaced. And now, yeah, the circle is complete, as it were. But yeah, Nick de Vries, since competing in Formula 1, has gone back to Formula E to compete in that series, and also WEC in the hypercar program for Toyota. So yeah, he's done all right since F1, it is fair to say. Now we've got Tom Blomqvist. Now this is a name I've not heard in a while. He was a part of the McLaren setup in 2012. He's still only 31 years of age. He's still relatively young at the end of the day. But yeah, he was only a part of that McLaren setup for that 1 year in 2012. In 2012, he was competing in Formula 3 Euro Series, German Formula 3, and the FIA Formula 3 World Championship as well, or European Championship, I should say, as well. After 2012, he stayed in F3 for a few years after that, competed in the likes of DTM, the Blomqvist series, WEC. You know how this kind of goes for a lot of these guys. They end up in quite similar series, and he's still competing in racing to this day, of course, being over in the likes of IndyCar, making a few appearances this season for Cheng Racing, and also for IMSA as well. So I imagine he will probably stay over in the States, competing in IndyCar and IMSA, or whatever series he fancies, really. Andrew Tang is another guy that I'd never heard of personally, and I'm not really too surprised by that. He was competing in karting in 2012 when the Singaporean had his only season as a McLaren youth driver, and since then, I mean, he went to Formula Renault 2.0 Alps series in 2013 and 14, and later went to some Porsche racing series, or you might have seen him in Porsche Super Cup in 2016, but yeah, the Singaporean drivers kind of fell off the map since then, unfortunately, so never quite worked out for him. I'll try and find an image of, I hope, what he looks like, because I can't see on his Wikipedia, unfortunately, if there's one there, but the interwebs may have one some out there for me. So a driver though that is 100%, I'm going to get some images of, is Stoffel Vandoorne. Again, another young McLaren driver who was incredibly highly rated as part of their setup. Another guy who did graduate to drive for McLaren as well. He was a part of the youth academy between 2013 and 2016, getting his first full-time McLaren drive in 2017. He did make a cameo appearance in 2016 though, and impressed enough to sign him full-time after Jenson Button retired after 2016. When he was signed in 2013, he was competing in the Formula Renault 3.5 series. He then went over to GP2 in 14 and 15, winning the series in one of the most dominant seasons I've ever seen in 2015. That had this guy super hyped. He went also to Super Formula in Japan in 2016 as well, and like I said, came to McLaren in 2017. The car was an absolute dog to drive, in fairness. 2018 didn't really cover himself in glory, but he was going up against a certain Fernando Alonso, who, you know, is pretty good. But yeah, unfortunately, it just never really happened for Stoffel in Formula 1, and he's a very talented driver at the end of the day. Since Formula 1, he has competed in the likes of Formula E and the World Endurance Championship as well. He finally won the E Championship after finishing runner-up in 2020. He won it in 2022. These days, he is still around the Formula E paddock. He competed for Penske last season, and this season he's looking to compete for Maserati. So there we go, guys. Someone who very talented, but clearly just F1 was just too much of a step up. Now, McLaren got Honda engines back for 2015, what turned out to be one of the worst decisions in motorsport history. But with that, it did bring some Japanese drivers to the team. Nobuharu Matsushita being one of those. Matsushita is only 31 years of age, and I apologize, I'm going to butcher his last name a lot because I find it very hard not to say it and swear in all honesty. But yeah, he was a part of the McLaren youth setup between 2015 and 17. He competed in GP2 and F2 because he got rebranded between 16 and 17 in all of those years, but he clearly wasn't someone that McLaren rated as highly as some of their other youth prospects. Since then, he did continue to compete in Formula 2 all the way until 2020. He's also gone back to Japan since then and competed in the likes of Super GT and Super Formula, where he still competes to this day. So yeah, like I said, with a lot of these drivers, didn't quite work out in Formula 1, but somebody who, you know, has made himself a very successful driver in other racing series as well. Fukuzumi is another driver, another Japanese driver that was brought along with the Honda connections, joined the McLaren program in 2016 and stayed until 2017. 2017. A very young driver at the time, and he's only 27 years of age now, in fairness. When he joined in 2016, he was in the GP3 series, which he stayed until 17. He was dropped after 2017, but actually got promoted to F2, competed in a single season there in 2018, and yeah, just a bit like Matsushita, he has gone back to Japan, competing primarily in Super Formula and Super GT during his season since then, which he'll continue to do in 2025. Now, next guy, Lando Norris. Never heard of this dude. Who's this guy? Oh, he competes for McLaren now. Fair play. We all know Lando Norris. You know, he made his Formula One debut in 2019. He's competed for McLaren ever since then. He's finally got the monkey off his back in terms of getting wins and a lot of podiums as well. Got his first podium in 2020, of course. When he joined as a youngster in 2017, he was in the Formula 3 European Championship, which he won that season, and then he finished runner-up in F2 in 2018, only behind a certain George Russell. Norris is someone who is tipped to potentially win the Formula 1 World Championship in the future, which I'm not ruling out. I think he's got to improve in certain aspects, just in terms of his consistency, but in 2024, he was the runner-up overall, his best finish in Formula 1 by far. 4 victories during this season that's just gone as well. Like I said, another 25 podiums, I think he's had 26 podiums in total, so he's already got well over 100 starts to his name in Formula 1. He'll continue to compete for McLaren for the near future, but you have a very tough prospect alongside him next season in the form of Oscar Piastri, a more experienced Oscar Piastri, so I'll be fascinated to see how he does. But yeah, Lando Norris, someone that we can expect to stay in Formula 1 for a very long time, most likely competing for McLaren during that time. A young Brazilian driver that's kind of just milled around and gone to a few different teams as reserve driver over the years is Sergio Sette Camara, someone who was in the McLaren system in 2019. He's only 26 years of age now, actually. In 2019, he was competing in Formula 2, and he also competed in the Formula E series heading into 2020 as well. He was dropped from that series, though, from the McLaren series, the McLaren Academy during after 2019. Since then, he competed for the likes of Dragon and also ERT in Formula E. Has never really done too well in Formula E, in fairness. He's really struggled in that sense, and this season in Formula E, he will be the reserve driver for Nissan. So yeah, someone, I swear I saw he had some sort of Red Bull connection at some point as well, but yeah, never quite made it, did Cameron. Never quite had the speed for Formula 1, unfortunately for him. Someone though who probably does have the speed for Formula 1, I'd be fascinated to see how he actually would compete in F1, is Alex Palou. He was a member of the setup in 2023. Now, he was meant to actually drive for Arrow McLaren, the McLaren IndyCar team this season in 2024, but that's a whole mess that needs its own video that I'm not going to get into. But the important part for this is that he was actually a part of the system in 2023. He's someone who has tested for McLaren. I think he made some free practice appearances as well for McLaren over the years. I'd be fascinated to see how he does. He's won 3 championships in IndyCar already in the last 4 seasons. His 3rd championship coming this season in 2024 as well. He's still only 27 years of age, so he's someone who has a very bright future for him. He's competing in the likes of Super GT over in Japan as well as a GP3 and Formula 4 over in the BRDC as well. But yeah, I don't think he's really going to probably make an appearance in F1 as a full-time driver. He's having too much fun over in IndyCar just to be mid-table, midfield, I should say, in Formula 1. But who knows? It could happen one day, and I'd love to see it. And the final driver I want to talk about is Gabriel Bortoleto. I've mentioned him a few times already. He's the most recent person to leave the academy in the McLaren academy, mainly because he's going to drive for Sauber next season. He's going to be a part of the Audi setup properly. He's not going to be a youth driver still for McLaren. Yeah, I mean, F2 champion in 2024, F3 champion the year before. I mean, he's been absolutely fantastic. He's someone I'm very excited to see, someone I spoke to last year, because this will be out in 25. Yeah, I spoke to him last year. Spoke to him recently anyway, last 3-4 months or so when I spoke to him. So check out that interview. I really enjoyed doing that for 5 minutes here on the F1 Chronicle, and yeah, someone excited to see. He's a massive prospect for their future. He's only 20 years old. He's 20 years old, man. 20 years old. He's a kid. And he's making his F1 debut. And I've already done a video as well going over just how young he is compared to the other Brazilian greats. Like how much further along he is in his career at 20 years of age compared to Senna, Barrichello, Massa, drivers like that. So I am really, really excited to see what he can do next year. Someone has a very bright future, and being part of the Audi setup as well, I think is very positive for him too. But yeah, there we go, guys. A very, very long video. It's going to take me a while to edit this bad boy. I hope you do appreciate it. A longer form video. I like doing these videos because I can talk extensively about people and just go more in depth in the general kind of news pieces. But while it's the off season, I'm very much as well looking for topics to cover. So if you have one, let me know. I hope you enjoyed this video in the meantime as well. Got some ideas to keep us going until the off season ends, or at least we get some car reveals towards the end of January and also the start of February. And then, like I said, if you're watching this, it's the future. It's 2025. Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful time. I hope you had a great time this Christmas. Have a great time also welcoming the new year as well. Let's make 25 a massive year for the F1 Chronicle. All your support through 2024 has been very much appreciated. It's been incredible to see the rise of the channel, and long may it continue. And you're here for the journey for us as well, which I cannot speak more highly about at the end of the day. So yeah, have a good one, guys. I'm gonna have a lie down probably after that. I've done this all in one take effectively. So yeah, I will see you very soon. Hope you have a good one.